Goes into a fourth week. President Trump hosted dozens of GOP senators at the White House. The focus of the lunch was not necessarily on trying to figure out a way to end the impasse, but instead to make clear that there's nothing left to negotiate. President Trump heads overseas at the end of this week for a series of summits and meetings in Asia. Democratic leaders today urging the president to meet with them before leaving the country. Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer from here in New York continues to say health care is his party's focus, especially extending those subsidies for people on the Affordable Care Act exchanges who could see their premiums skyrocket.
Republicans may not have time to fix people's health care, but apparently they got plenty of time for a mini pep rally with Donald Trump.
Today I'm calling on every Senate Democrat to stop the madness. We've got to get our government open, and the Democrats are trying to keep it closed.
Jerry Zremski has covered our nation's capital for the Buffalo News for many years, also a journalism professor at the University of Maryland, and he joins us live here tonight. Jerry, I want to ask you in a moment, try to dig into the sort of the real world impact on people who are watching right now. But first, your sources in Washington, I mean, everybody seems to be thinking this is going to become the longest government shutdown ever, that it could go past Thanksgiving. I mean, what is your sense of where things stand?
Well, my sense is that no one is negotiating, and when no one negotiates, there's no solution, so there is no end in sight. I do think, however, that as time goes on, the real-world impact of the shutdown will grow and will probably change the political dynamic. And let me just give you a couple of examples of that. Winter's coming. Funding for SNAP won't be, or for funding for LIHEAP, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, will not be there. People will not get it. That will increase the pressure on politicians to do something. Also, it looks like SNAP benefits could run out in November. That would affect hundreds of thousands of people in Western New York and millions of people nationwide. Again, dramatically changing the political landscape and the outlook for, and really putting, I think, pressure on both sides to get to the table.
And Jerry, in terms of government workers who are not getting paid, this Friday there are going to be a lot of them who normally would get that paycheck that they're just not going to get. I mean, do we have a sense, we're not Northern Virginia or Washington, D.C., we don't have those kinds of numbers of federal workers, but there are certainly people here in Buffalo and Western New York who are impacted by that, right?
Oh, yes. Basically, any federal employee who is not considered to be essential would not be getting paid because they're not working, and it will have an economic effect. I do know that certain lenders are offering very low or 0% loans, kind of like payday loans to laid off federal employees, which may cushion the impact to some degree. But still, you're going to be talking probably of hundreds of people in Western New York who are not getting paid.
And then, Jerry, talking about the politics of this, because the assumption is eventually the politics will get too difficult for either the president and Republicans or Democrats, and they'll have to sort of, you know, come off of where they currently are, right? How long until you think we hit that point? Because right now, both sides seem to kind of be okay with the politics of this.
I think the politics will change in November if SNAP benefits are not going to be able to be paid because states are not going to get the federal subsidy for SNAP benefits. I think that's going to be the biggest pressure point to date. The other thing to consider in November, people are starting to get their health premiums, their health care insurance premiums for the next year. If those show a big increase, that will boost the case for the Democrats, who are arguing, of course, for the Obamacare subsidies to be extended. So I think November we're really going to see some movement because we're going to see the real impact of the shutdown hitting people at home.
Jerry Zremski, longtime reporter for the Buffalo News covering our nation's capital. Jerry, it's your last week with the paper. Is that right?
It is. I have somehow reached the age of a pensioner, and so I am leaving the paper, but I am not leaving the University of Maryland, and I'm not leaving journalism. I'm starting a Substack, so you can look for me there starting this Saturday.
We will look for that, and we will continue to have Jerry on as often as he will come, because you always have the perfect insight, because there is this sort of intersection between what happens in Washington and how it impacts Western New York, and you know it so well. Jerry, thanks as always.
Thank you very much, Michael.